Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Markelly Farm. It's early morning here, and we're going to start a little project that's going to solve a problem I've been dealing with lately. So stick around, we'll get her done. Now, the problem I've been having is I'm a bologna lover, which is not actually the problem. The problem is nobody around here carries the bologna in the deli case anymore, where you can actually have them slice it as thick as you want. The only bologna that's available is that thin, greasy stuff in the pre-packages over in like the cold cut section where it's all pre-packaged stuff. And I don't like it. I like the good stuff. You used to be able to have them sliced. And nobody around here has it. I've even checked in the larger town that's near to us, and they don't even have it. I don't know what the deal is. There a bologna shortage or something? But it really saddens me that I can't get it. So I got to thinking, I have everything here to make it myself. So we're going to give that a shot today. I found a recipe online, and we're going to get her done. So if you're a fan of the channel and you've been around a while, you've seen us use this before. This is our lunch meat maker or meat press, and we've used it for chicken. I think we made some ham with it one time, but we're going to make bologna in this. So let's get all of the ingredients together. We'll get them mixed up and we'll get it put in our press. So we're going to start out with 3 pounds of our good Nebraska beef. We'll get it in the bowl and we'll start adding our spices. Get our meat in our bowl. So we're going to mix our dry ingredients in here first. So our first dry ingredient is 1.5 teaspoons of Tender Quick. It's a meat cure that you can find near your salt at your grocery store. If you can't find that, use like 1 tablespoon of kosher salt or sea salt. It's not going to come out the same because the Tender Quick will actually turn your meat in a pretty red color, whereas your salt will not. But salt will do if you can't find that. All right, we have our 1.5 teaspoons of Tender Quick. If you've never looked, Morton Salt has a lot of good meat recipes on their website for Tender Quick. This is I believe a salt cure, and they also have a sugar cure. I forget what it's called. But they have some really good recipes that you can make at home that you don't need any specialized equipment. You can make your own salami and pepperoni, pastrami, all that stuff. Really cool stuff. Check them out. Next thing we need is 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I just use my 1 teaspoon and guess at half. I don't want to dirty up all my spoons. Let me know if you do the same thing. Next thing we need is 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Remember, we made our own onion powder with our freeze-dried onions. And I always write on the side of my containers, because if I don't have a fresh onion that a recipe calls for, I know that 1 tablespoon equals 1 medium onion. So it's a good thing to write on your spice canisters so you know if you don't have a fresh onion. Now, if you didn't use the Tender Quick in the recipe and you just use the kosher salt or the sea salt, you would want to increase the onion powder and the garlic powder to 1 whole teaspoon instead of just 1/2. And last but certainly not least is a whole teaspoon of liquid smoke to give it that good smoky flavor. Now, I always like to mix my spices with water when I'm making sausage, and most of your sausage recipes will call for water. You want to use ice water, so I always ice down my water and then I measure it. We need 1 cup for this recipe. Can't measure it with the cubes in it because that throws off the mixture, so we'll pour it separately here, trying not to get the ice cubes in the mix. There we go, 1 cup of water. And you want to use ice water because that keeps your meat mixture nice and cold. So we'll whisk that up. Give it a little stir with my favorite whisk. This also helps distribute the spices better through your meat, so you don't get one spot in your meat that's got more spice than the others. Dissolve it in the water and then it mixes a lot more thorough. So we're just going to pour that over our meat mixture now and mix it up. Now if you find that there's any spices left in your container, just grab a little bit of meat here after you wash your hands and use your meat to wipe the spices out of the container. Now this is a job for your hands, folks. Wash your hands, get them in here and mix all this up, and all that liquid will mix into the meat. Now most of your bologna recipes, a lot of your lunch meat recipes call for an emulsified sausage, which you would put it like in a food processor and process it till it looks like a paste, where you can't see the little fat in it anymore, which is generally what bologna is. It's an emulsified sausage. Bologna is just a giant hot dog is all it is. It's the same recipe for hot dogs and bologna, I think. I know the factory that I toured one time when I was young, it was the same recipe. They just stuffed it into different size casings and cooked it, but the bologna and the hot dog was the same stuff. So we're going to get this all mixed up, and we'll come back and we'll put this in our lunch meat press. There's our meat mixture. Now that it's done, it smells absolutely amazing. So we're going to get our press open here. As soon as I can find the notch, there we go. It's got a spring-loaded follower that goes in the inside. That's what keeps your meat compressed. So we're going to put all the meat in our canister. Try not to have any air pockets. You want to pack it in there to where there's no air pockets. So I like to kind of put the meat to one side and kind of push it down so all the air pushes out the other side. Get it as tight as you can in here. Like I said, put the meat to one side, push all the air out of it, and then push it down. I don't think we're going to get all this meat in here, but that's okay. We'll take what's left and we'll make a couple patties out of it. Make some fried bologna for breakfast. Okay, we've got our meat packed in here. You need to leave about 1 inch of space for your follower to go in there. So we'll put that in there, and then that leaves the space for the spring. So your container has notches that these little tabs go into, so try to kind of line those up when you put it down. And then you just do like a quarter turn, then it's in there. And then your meat thermometer has to go through here and then go through the hole in the follower and goes in there just like that. Now for cooking our bologna, you're going to use a pot. I like to use one of my stock pots so I can get the water higher because my other pots don't allow that. So I bring the water up to about where the level of the meat was, about 1 inch down. And I've also put a grate in the bottom. I don't know if you have to do that, but I like doing that. So the meat pot's not sitting right down on the bottom of the pot where it's the hottest. It's completely surrounded by the water. So we're going to turn our pot on and we're going to cook on low, just barely a simmer. We don't want this rolling boiling, but just barely a simmer. And then we're going to cook our bologna until we get to an internal temp of 165. And then we'll be done cooking it. Meanwhile, I'm going to make a breakfast patty out of that because I love fried bologna sandwiches for breakfast. I cannot wait. Now I'm cooking this on low because I want to cook it really slow and not render it all out crazy like a hamburger. Now I wanted to tell you too, if you don't have one of these fancy presses like this, just use like a loaf pan like you'd use for like banana nut bread or whatever. Put some foil on it and weight it down on top and then shove the thermometer into it and cook it that way. You could even cook it in the oven if you wanted to. Put your oven on about, 250 degrees or so and cook it like that. Now another way to do it is to form your loaf or your round bologna however big you want it. Wrap it up real tight in like plastic wrap. Put it in the fridge for 24 hours and that will firm up. And then you can take the wrap off of it, put it on a rack, like in your oven or in the barbecue at about 250 degrees, 300 maybe, and cook it to 165 temperature. You could do it that way too. Now, I don't know if I told you, I remember telling you how most of your bologna and your lunch meat is emulsified when they make it. We're going to keep it rustic like this, kind of like a salami almost. The flavor will be the same, the texture will just be different. It won't have that smooth texture that bologna usually have. It'll look more of a salami. So just a waiting game, and then we're going to eat breakfast. See our bologna here? See how it's turning pink like that? That's the tender quick in the mix doing that. Gives it the beautiful pink bologna color. So that's not done yet. We'll keep that going. Our bologna's pretty much cooked now, so I'm going to leave the lid off so the liquid can boil out and we can kind of get it brown on the outside. Our pot here is steaming. I've got it down on low now just to do a real slow cook on this. If I could had a way to keep this at 200 degrees, which is below boiling point of water, would be ideal, because we don't want to boil the water out of that meat mixture either. We just want it to cook. Our fried bologna is done. I know it doesn't look done, but again, that meat cure is what turns your meat pink like that. So we'll pull these out. I'm going to fry me a couple eggs to go with a couple of those patties. It's going to be delicious. Alright, got our couple bologna patties there with some eggs. If you like over easy eggs and you have a problem flipping them over without them breaking, cook your eggs lower with a lid on, and the lid will cook the top of your eggs because it'll kind of steam in there. So you'll still get some good egg yolk out of that. So we're going to use a little bit of our mixed up salt here. And some of our mixed up pepper. We found that at the store the other day. I've been enjoying it. Let's tear into that. I like breaking my egg yolk and letting it run all over the place. That one's a little more done. You can see inside there that pink bologna color. Oh, that tastes fantastic. Folks, you really need to try this. If you've never had meat without all the preservatives and the nasty crap they put in it nowadays, so much better. And I've never had a better fried bologna and egg for breakfast. That is so good. Excuse me, we're going to finish this. Hey, I wanted to give a shout out to one of our fantastic subscribers out in Crossville, Tennessee. Jackie Milton sent us a Christmas card for Christmas. It says, Mark and Kelly and your mom and pets, may the spirit of Christmas fill your heart and home with joy today and into the new year. So thank you, Jackie. We really appreciate the card. We love all of our subscribers. All right, back to our project. Our temperature has risen 30 degrees inside the canister. It takes a while for that heat to get into the center. So we're going to keep going to 165. You can see we're not boiling, we're on low. Now, if you're not a fan of beef, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, you don't have to use beef to make bologna. I've seen bologna made out of every kind of meat, chicken, turkey, pork, whatever. Use any raw meat you want, just go with the 3 pounds of it. If you want it to turn that good pink bologna color, though, you're going to have to use a meat cure like the Tender Quick. Because if you just use the salt, you're not going to get the color. And if you're using the poultry, I would definitely do an emulsified sausage where you put it in a food processor and grind it to a paste. I think it would come out a lot better if you're using the poultry. Here's some of our chicken lunch meat here that I have in the fridge just to show you. If you're interested in that video, it's in our playlist. Go check it out. Got all of our dishes done. If you're going to be in the kitchen, that's part of the process. Don't leave your spouse a big mess in the kitchen. Been about an hour and a half. We're up to 130 degrees. I had to add a little bit more water because as the water kind of steams off, the water level went down a little bit. But shouldn't be too much longer. We're about 2.5 hours in. It looks like we've reached 140 degrees. Our water temp's only 160, but it'll rise as it gets hotter and hotter. I dumped that hot water in a little bit ago, so it's still rising from that because we're still on low. Now, looking at other recipes online, I actually only need to go to about 155 degrees. So we've only got 15 more degrees before this is done. All right, folks, we're right at 3 hours, and we're about 157, 58 degrees. So we're going to shut this baby down. We're going to pull the canister out. I'm going to take the lid off the canister and the spring follower out because if you wait till it cools off, that is almost impossible to get out of there. I like to twist it a little bit when I break it loose and then just slowly pull it up. Okay, we've got a little juice on top that we're going to pour off. Now we're also going to unmold it while it's hot too because it's a lot easier to do. Sure you do it in a bowl. Got a little splash going on. So we're just going to let that cool. I'll put this back over the top to hold it in shape. Taking some of the excess moisture out of here with paper towel. And once this cools a little bit where it's not crazy hot, we'll just throw it in the fridge. All right, our lunch meat, our bologna's in the fridge, cooling off. I just got off the phone with my friends Dave and Steph out in Tennessee, and we were talking about salad. Now I'm craving salad, so got to make me a salad for lunch. All right, first thing, lettuce. I love this Organic Girl 50-50 mix. It's got mixed greens and spinach. Love it. Don't buy that stuff in a bag because it tastes weird because they put an additive on it to make it preserve for a while. This stuff doesn't have that weird flavor. Next up is some of our chicken lunch meat that I showed you earlier. Get a little protein in our salad. Little onion. A lot of onion. I love onion. Some disappointing winter tomatoes, but they are what they are in the winter, I guess. A little bit of chopped apple. Love apple in my salad, gives it a nice crunch. Oop, you're not getting away. About a half of an apple, I guess. Some dried cranberries for a little bit of tart. Like it's the last of the package. My favorite cheese for a salad, feta cheese. Some walnuts, a little more crunch. And some roasted pumpkin seeds. These are shelled pumpkin seeds. They're not the whole ones that you're used to. These are just the kernels. Now some of our honey vinaigrette dressing, which is fantastic on this salad. It's equal parts olive oil, honey, and apple cider vinegar. And I love this little mixer container here. That's a salad fit for a king, folks. Now, speaking of my friends Dave and Steph out in Tennessee, when we go out there, we always make it a point to visit Rugby, Tennessee, where there's a store called R.M. Brooks. A lady named Tiffany runs the store there. She's just the sweetest gal you'll ever meet in your life. She makes a really mean bologna sandwich, fried bologna sandwich. She puts egg on it. Ask her to make it Tiffany style. If you go there, highly recommend the old store. It's an old country corner store out there. Really neat place to go. All right, I think we're cool enough where we can start slicing this stuff. Now I'm going to slice it probably about a 1/4 inch thick, maybe a little thicker. That beautiful bologna. Got the hole in it from the thermometer, but that's no big deal. You can see it's got the rustic texture to it. If you want the smoother texture, you can emulsify the sausage before you cook it. Love this stuff. There it is, all sliced up. Let's get it packaged up. All right, we got 5 packages vacuum sealed bologna. We're really going to enjoy that. It's just gorgeous. And then we got one package for the fridge. All right, my friends, that's it for the bologna. We're really going to enjoy that. It tastes really good. And we're able to have it here instead of not being able to find it. So coming up on the channel, we're going to be making another meat item that we cannot find locally or even in Nebraska, a Portuguese sausage called linguiça. So we're going to be making some of that, so make sure you stay tuned. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here on the farm. We love hanging out with you.
My baloney has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R. My baloney has a second name. It's M-A-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with B-L-O-G-N-A.